I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be.
Hello, everyone. It's Todd Scrima and the lovely Robyn, LaVassaur, and the GOAT Jimmy Reed. Thank you for a podcast for branch managers. So we do this about once a month, and today's topic is improving your process. So I'll start with just a short little story. Robyn and I just got off a nice 3.5-hour meeting with three other
Thanks
people.
for leaving me out, by the way. I appreciate you leaving me out of that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We hired Richard Milligan, who a lot of people know. He's a professional recruiting coach. And the amount of process and detail, Robyn, how much was it? Like that? We do some of it, but there's a lot that we're not doing around process. I mean, it's massive.
Correct.
In order to really gain traction and do it right. So, Jimmy, when you brought up this topic, I was like, improve your process. I think, let me give one more reference point. This is about, 10 years ago, someone hired a professional project manager. And Anna was her name.
Yeah, I love her.
Anna had a degree in process engineering. And the amount of steps to change one process in the company, it would be like 10 pages single space, like everything that needs to happen, all the training needs to get done, how much attention to detail. And I think what it makes me think of is in sales process, it's really hard for us as salespeople, including me, to be that detailed and process driven. Some people say, Todd, you're more process driven. I make myself be more process driven, but it is painful. And what I'm learning is to go to the next level is going to be a lot more pain in order to get to the juicy stuff. So, Jim, I love the topic. Why do you say branch managers need to be improving their process, whether it's sales process, operational processes, all that stuff that has to happen?
Well, you made me think of something real quick. Like in the sales process that you teach in Jolt and the one that I grew up in, we teach people to ask why of your client, whether they be a realtor or a borrower, like 7 times. You say 3, which is good because most people do it once. But I've seen you in action, and it's about 17 when you do it, right? And so you're saying that you're really good, like you're in action, you're really good at it in sales because of what I just described. And you're saying we got to do it in like internal process. We do it. Someone does it in the sales process and what we're teaching. I believe we do. At least we teach it. Whether they do it or not is a different question. But you're saying we got to take that level of depth into operational process and recruiting process and every process. And where I get that from is that stupid show, People, Product, and Process, where a product is low. But not really. Our product is our loan reps. Our process is what they experience. And our people is who they interact with internally, not externally. Because the people who they interact with internally and the process internally is what gives them confidence to be external. Without those two things, the normal person in our business doesn't have the confidence to go do what they got to do. Now, you and me and Robyn, honestly, even without that, we have the confidence to go do what we need to do, frankly. That's what I believe. That's what sets different people apart. But if we want to be able to improve the lives of our loan reps even more than we do, and we do good, our average closing is way higher than the national average and way higher than any company that I know of. There may be some that are higher, but I don't know of, right? So we do good, but imagine when we really dig it. Like my vision is 7.5 closings per loan officer company-wide. Can you imagine how many families that helps?
Yeah.
Well, how do you give those people that confidence?
Uh-huh.
And that's why I brought this topic up. And so I think it's just, everybody closes fast, everything's easy. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Jim, maybe give me an example. Maybe, Robyn, you can think of one too, because you guys both run big branches. What's one process, whether it was 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago, and you're like, I just changed this one. We worked on this process, and here where this was the result. Because I'm concerned that the listener is like, process.
Yeah. I can tell you one real quick, because then Robyn, so like us, for me, it's kind of like golf, Todd. I have to relearn and implement things I used to do and forgot. So it's not new, but we stopped doing it, what I'm going to share. So like a loan officer turns in a file, and everybody who touches a file wants the person before them to do a better job and complains about it, frankly. And I don't really worry about that much, frankly. What I worry about is a minimum standard that they have to meet or we don't touch it. And the minimum standard, that bar, is not excellence in terms of how they turn in a file, but it is directional and accurate. There's a difference. The direction has to be clear. The information has to be accurate. They got to have a minimum amount of documentation to prove that they analyzed the loan correctly. But I'm not going to be sending the file back to them because they forgot a birth date or something, right? It's like a minimum red light checklist, and it's a minimum. Of course, my ops manager, God love her, she's the best on the planet. Robyn would say hers is the best on the planet. We can, like, whatever. She always wants it to be more detailed. As soon as it gets more detailed, we salespeople stop looking at it. Literally stop looking at it. And so it has to be big font. It has to be a minimum standard. It has to be enforced regularly, and it has to be enforced with love, not with criticism. Because then, once they get into that rhythm, it could turn a filing with direction and clarity, but not over-criticize them. They can be freed to sell. And I think that's something that we've done at our branch, and I think Robyn does it too. In fact, I know she does, in the past really, really well. And we got out of habit for whatever reason. It doesn't matter the why, but that's what we've done. It's like, okay, I can do this. I get this loan. I can do this much to it, and you guys will run with it. That's one thing we've readapted.
Yeah, so Jim, just to be granular, I took a loan app from a self-employed borrower. I'm using a full doc loan. I need at least 1 or 2 years tax returns or I can't turn it in.
Yeah, it's more than that, but yes, but not a lot more.
Yeah, but
not a lot more.
But if I'm a W-2 wage earner working for the state of California and I get paid $5,000 every single month and I'm missing a pay stub, but I see the $5,000 a month on my bank statement, that might be acceptable.
And you have a missing items list that you gave to the borrower that's detailed, that you gave to the team, because that's the missing link, right? A team member to call and ask for things that they don't know whether have been asked for yet or not, frightens them. But if they see a missing, like, I'm giving you guys golden freaking nuggets that you think are nothing, and I'm telling you they're everything. When a loan partner too sees the list and it says that they gave it to the client, and all they got to do is call them and say, I have that list that you got from Jim, and I need these things, they'll do that. But when they got to call them and not know if they're going to ask them for 6 things that they didn't know they needed and get yelled at, they ain't doing that. So it's got to be direction, it's got to be clarity, and it's got to meet a minimum standard. And it's not that difficult. It don't take that long. It's when we push back on operationally on salespeople so much and tell them, well, if you just do a better job, your loan would close on time. You're just like every other mortgage company, and I am not interested. You got me on a fired up page just in case you
well, just to dovetail on this, a process engineer would say, okay, you're coming out with this checklist. You need to train on it 3 different times for 30 minutes mandatory meetings so that people understand there's a change. Here's the change. Here's the minimum standard. Yeah, it's not that much. I'll do it.
I'm hogging, Robyn. I'll shut up after this. I'm hogging, and I'm sorry. So the way we do it, Todd, is one topic for 2 months. We have a branch meeting it's covered, a sales meeting it's covered, and every other week, loan partner training, and the same talk is covered for 2 months. That's our rule. In the past, we do a different topic every time and feel like we had to have a different topic every time. And I changed that a while back. That's another something that I know Robyn does.
That's excellent. Robyn, give me an example.
Yeah, you think about parenting in general, right? You generally have a process, right? Process of what your household looks like as it shuts down to go to bed at night. Kids understand what the process is to get up in the morning and get out the door. And you thrive in that situation. And when it's not, and it's chaos, and everyone gets to beat to their own drum, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I don't want to do this, where's my shoes?
Gosh.
Like, it's complete and utter chaos. And it not only causes problems with you and your kids, i.e. your loan officers, your employees, but it also causes problems amongst them, right? Each other. And then it causes problems amongst the leadership, right? If there's multiple leaders, whether it's ops and branch manager, all of a sudden there's major friction. And so I think when you don't have processes in place that, Jim says this all the time, like, hey, a system, if you will, which to me is a process, right? It's got to be documented in writing. It's got to be, 80% like functional all the time, right? There's always going to be a one-off, right? This is a super rush. There's this going on. There's that going on. But ultimately, hey, this is happening 80% of the time. People are understanding it. It's in writing. They agree to it. It's being followed. And then you can measure what those results are, right, on the other side. And so sometimes it's as simple as, hey, we have a Monday morning sales meeting, right? It's at 9 a.m. for 30 minutes. It is like clockwork. We don't ever miss it. That's a small little process that people can anticipate. Throughout the day, we have, 4 or 5 different chat lines that people know they can get into and what they would bring to those specific chat lines. Those are all systems, processes that were built out that people can say, hey, I know where to go for help. I know where I missed a step. We can look back and say a reflection. The biggest things that we ever implemented, and Jimmy, you probably did something like this too. You ever heard of that? You ever seen loan officers get a contract and waste the first 10 days in their email because they just didn't get it out of their email? I think that was one of the things that we did was all contracts immediately get sent to the front end team. Why? Because they'll immediately start taking action, right? And I don't know about y'all, but it's pretty easy for a Tuesday to become a Sunday pretty darn quick during a full week. And all of a sudden, with all the good intentions in the world, you put yourself a week behind on a 21 calendar day contract, and it's chaos. And so if that contract can immediately hit the hands of an employee who knows exactly how to get it monitored and on a pipeline and going, that act alone, just a date in the system the day you get the contract, changed the game in how we closed loans on time and got ahead of things. And so little processes, sometimes big processes, are absolutely needed. But every time you feel chaos, discord, friction, maybe people leaving, lack of trust, lack of ownership, I could almost guarantee you it is from a lack of an actual clear and understood process that everybody is bought into and it's being executed.
I'll share a quick story.
Really good processes remove decision making. That's what they do.
And again, say it louder, Jimmy.
Yeah, they remove decision making. I'll give you an example. Which is more effective, a stop sign or a stop light? Which is more efficient?
Stop sign.
No, a stop light. Because a stop sign, when you roll up to a stop sign, if you 2 or 3 people roll up at about the same time, you're looking at everybody like, who's going to go first? And then you finally, it's been long enough and you finally start to go when someone else does, and then you stop. And then they look at you like this. And then you wave them and they're no, you go. Right? Red light, stop. Green light, go. Yellow light, there's only one small area of decision making, right? Other than that, it's crystal clear. But stop signs are like, I used to think that the roundabouts in Mexico were the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They are the most brilliant thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
There's no decision making.
Yeah.
And so what happens is everybody thinks they're right. When there's decisions, they want to justify their decision. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I just want to close fast and get paid. Like, I don't care about being right. I care about getting things done. You got to remove decision making.
I'm laughing because yesterday I was driving and I did exactly what you just said. And the lady literally rolled down her window and gave me the finger over her car hood. And I'm like, wow, that's a bad day.
Yeah. And Robyn's story about the mornings, I'm like, do you have a camera at my house? I have 4 sons and my wife is a teacher. So everybody's going back to school/work at the same time. It's chaos. No one's in a rhythm. She's screaming. I'm giggling. Then she's mad at me for giggling.
Yeah.
I'm running people over here and there. I start and stop. You don't have a rhythm now yet because there's no process. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Probably at dinner tonight, we have to have a little conversation because there were some tears. But yeah, it's the same thing at work. So process is what gives salespeople confidence to get more loans. And if you're a branch manager, if you're not working on this, it's because you're worried about your own money more than your loan officer's money. And if that's the truth, stop being a branch manager.
Amen.
Well, guys, I think this is one of those subjects you could go on and on. I think it's a great reminder, but I think it's more than that. I think that when I look at business strategically, everything's more competitive. And everything, you have AI that does everything perfect, and there's all this pressure around stuff. And if we don't learn to be more process-driven and structured, I don't think it's like to the point where you're not going to survive. I'd hate people who are too glamorous on stuff like that, but you're not going to do as well. It's in other words, it's hard to wing it anymore in sales. It's hard to wing it anymore in operations. And then, of course, when the industry normalizes and we get busier, and you go from a 1.1 trillion market to maybe a 2 trillion market, and everyone's a lot busier, this stuff is going to show up like hotcakes and be like, "Whoa, we used to do this way." And so I think there's COVID maybe gave us all a chance to be a little lazy and stop doing some things. I know that happened to me on a few things. It's getting ahead of that, because when the market normalizes, it's like it's too late, because now it's going to take you 6 months to implement that change that you could have done in 1 month. So that's a parting gift. Okay. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. If you like it, send it on to someone. We're happy to share this stuff. I think it's great. And send us your stuff too. Maybe we'll share. I listened to some mortgage podcasts. There's some good ones out there. There's some good realtor ones out there. So I've been listening to a lot more podcasts. So good job, guys, on getting that stuff out there. Thank you, guys. Have a great month. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Robyn.